Reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You, my friend, are listening to The Happy Hearthstone. This show is brought to you by Doghouse Systems, who make some of the most powerful gaming PCs on the planet. And I can say from personal experience that they have awesome customer service. Use the code MMOReporter at doghousesystems.com and get a free 120GB SSD. And by Audible, the best audiobook service in existence. Seriously, if you like stories at all, you've got to check Audible out. Go to audibletrial.com/MMOReporter and get a free 1-month trial and a free audiobook. Those ads help cover our server costs for the show, but if you'd like to directly support this show and the nice people who make it, you can go to gamediplomat.com/donate and show us some love. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to episode 56 of the Happy Hearthstone podcast, the longest running Hearthstone podcast in the history of space and time and cards. I'm your host, Josh Augustine, and this week I'm joined by Scott Lance.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Has anyone ever called you Scott Lancelot?
Back in high school, I got that a fair amount.
Ah, man. So I'm nothing more than a high school bully. I'm disappointed. I'm going to come up with a good intro for you someday, Scott.
It was more like a high school friend.
Okay. All right. Would you say that we're best friends, Scott?
We are best Hearthstone buddies.
Okay. I'll take that compromise. That's good. Can we get matching tattoos that say that?
Temporary tattoos, maybe.
Okay, fine. But we're doing it with rainbows in the background.
I actually have those here. My daughter just picked them up recently, so I'm set.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. There we go. Good. All right, so let me assume that, is that why you're happy this week, Scott? Because you got sweet tattoos?
I am happy because I just got back from 5 days at Disneyland, which, as we all know, is the happiest place on Earth.
That is literally the happiest you could be. 5 days is a lot of days. Did you run out of stuff to do, or were you still going?
Nah, man. Well, so, it was like 2 half days on the ends, but still. Mm-hmm. And we had to go to the airport pretty early on the last day, but the park opened at like 7 a.m. and we were there and we were riding the rides and we got almost a full day's worth of stuff done in like 3-4 hours. It was great.
Nice. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what was your favorite ride?
Favorite ride? Well, they just opened up the Haunted Mansion in Nightmare Before Christmas mode. Right.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, that's right when we were
love
leaving.
that.
So we got to ride that, and then they brought out a Jack and Sally, and we had our daughter meet them and sign the little autograph books. That was cool.
Now, is your daughter young enough that she's scared of Jack Skellington? Because that guy's kind of creepy looking.
She actually likes Jack and Sally a lot. She bought little dolls she had a gift card given to her, so she bought the dolls while she was there. But the Haunted Mansion did scare her a bit.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're spooky ghosts. They are singing most of the time, though. I do like that.
It's true. We made the mistake of taking I'm going to show what a bad parent I am. We took her on the Tower of Terror, and we prepared her like, okay, it's going to be spooky, and it's going to go up and down a lot. And she said she was up for it, and we kept trying to explain to her, and we tried another ride that we thought that she might find scary too, and she didn't have any problems with it. But yeah, she said she was fine. She said she liked it afterwards, but she didn't want to go on it again.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I don't do great with heights, so that ride was not very fun. All right, so I'm happy, Scott, because I've been destroying people in our H1Z1 Battle Royale tournaments in the office. So you know H1Z1, right?
Yeah.
Scott?
Yeah.
All right, so for people that don't know, I work at Daybreak Games, formerly SOE. H1Z1 is like our zombie survival game. They have a Battle Royale mode, which is basically like Hunger Games, essentially, right? Where you drop in anywhere between like 100 to 200 people and last man standing. And we're doing a big tournament at TwitchCon, and it's the first time we've done something like this. So we've been doing 2 internal playtests every single day where the whole company goes over and does a tournament, and then they try and fix bugs and figure out what went wrong with the tech side of stuff, get that all going. But I've gotten, and whoever gets first place, you get your name written up on a board, you get a little prize, that sort of stuff. For a while, I've been usurped. I was the only person on there who'd won twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it felt good. Like, I was walking in and people were like, oh, man, Josh, oh, the ringer's here, all this sort of stuff. And I've never been good at shooters. So this is like a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, Scott.
So what's your secret? What's your tactic?
Oh, here's my tactic. Avoid having to shoot as much as possible because I'm awful at shooters, right? So I basically went through strategy where, because The big pressure of the game is that gas starts on the outside and closes in until you're forced to like a tiny little circle, right? That's how they force you to fight. And I'm always on the outskirts, finding the best like routes that I can take to avoid conflict but stay within the circle and keep my back to the gas, because then you only have to watch like 180 degrees in front of you, rather than 360s. And dude, berry bushes. I've never known that berry bushes could save your life, but they're just the right height that if you crouch and kind of get inside them, you can hide your character model. So I've spent countless hours crouched inside of berry bushes, frantically looking in 360 degrees, waiting for someone to come up. And then when they get close, you pop out of the bush and shoot them with the shotgun. It freaks them out. It's good fun.
Now, I do a lot of hiding in berry bushes, but without the shotgun, and I'm talking real life, but you're talking in game, right?
Yes, I'm talking in the game. I have not actually hidden in a berry bush in real life. I imagine it would be a lot more sticky and prickly.
It is, man, but I've spent countless hours. Countless hours.
That's going to be a story for another time, because I've got to hear this story. But I feel like it's going to take the rest of the show. Maybe we could start a side podcast that's like berry bush stories. It's like haunting tales of things that happened inside berry bushes.
The spooky tales.
The spooky tales. Perfect. We'll get Jack Skellington to be our model. So obviously this week we're wrapping up our review. So last week we reviewed the neutral cards. This week we're reviewing the class cards for the grand tournament. So our format is going to be similar to last time. For each of the classes, we're going to choose the best card to craft, the best card to dust, and the best card to draft in Arena. So we're only doing one pick for each because there are 9 classes, and that's already 27 cards. And a review is kind of meaningless if you pick all the cards. So we'll just jump right in, I guess. Scott, you want to go first with Druids?
Yeah, man. We got the Darnassus Aspirant. This is a 2 mana cost, 2/3, which is not bad. Battle Cry, gain an empty mana crystal. What? That's got the wild growth effect built in. But Death Rattle, lose a mana crystal. So basically, while he's alive, you get an extra mana crystal. Although, if you can do some shenanigans like polymorphing him or silencing him or returning him to your hand or putting him back in your deck, or some of these other effects that do anything other than just outright kill him while he still has his ability, if you can do any of those things, you get the mana crystal and you get to keep it. But even if you don't, while she's alive, you do get the extra mana crystal.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it has kind of built-in anti-CC, because as the opponent, you really don't want to do anything to this other than kill it. Mm-hmm. I mean, because a lot of times when troops come in with like effects like this, you're like, oh, I'll just silence them, no big deal. But silencing is actually really bad here. It blew my mind when someone described this card to me as a mech warper that applies to every card in your hand.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because I always thought mech warper, well, that's an auto-include in every mech deck, right? And suddenly this is that, but for all decks. It's interesting.
You don't get the you only get the cost reduction once per turn, and not on the turn you play it. But yeah, it's a pretty close comparison.
Yeah. So this is our best card to craft for Druids. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I think this card is great, and the effect, the golden effect, is really cool. Flower petals falling down all over. Yeah,
they did a good job with the gold effects in this set.
Yeah, you can tell, like, because the first set, you can kind of tell, like, it's just the art, but they've put animation on top of it. And this one, there's a lot of special art going into these golden effects.
Yeah, I think most of the art in the first set, it all started, I believe, as flat 2D art. And I think a lot of it came from the original World of Warcraft trading card game from Cryptozoic. Yeah, and I think now they're doing custom commissioned art for the cards.
Very cool. All right, so what's next?
All right, the next one I have is the best to draft. And this is Mulch. 3 mana cost, destroy a minion, but they get to add a random minion to your opponent's hand. So, pretty cool. It's kind of like an Assassinate, but 2 cheaper, but you are putting a card in their hand. And it's not just a card, it's a minion. Although, since it is a minion, there's a higher than average chance that it will be a neutral minion. And it's also not something from their deck. So there's probably not going to be synergy, and it could just be a bad minion.
Yeah. So, Scott, I have an important question for you.
Yes, sir.
Does a golden mulch give a golden minion to your opponent?
Ooh, I would expect so.
Because Scott, that's a little downside right there, buddy. You don't want to be giving your opponent, moral boosts over there with their sweet gold minions.
I prefer to think of it as a courtesy.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I really don't worry too much about the downside here because random minion, like you said, the chances of it being, really strong at the time, have any sort of synergy is pretty low. And the cost you get is really good. I mean, if the natural comparison here is Naturalize, right, which is another Druid card, destroy minion. It's 2 cheaper, but your opponent draws 2 cards, which are cards from their deck, and also 2 instead of 1. I mean, this looks really solid.
Yeah, this is better than even just giving them or letting them draw 1 card from their own deck, because the quality of these on average is going to be significantly lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in Arena where removal is so key, and a lot of times you only have to remove 1 big threat because that's all their deck has. I mean, this sort of just blanket removal is always super valuable.
Yeah, you don't want to be using this on cheap minions either. You want to hold this for something expensive. Because they are going to draw a random minion. It's probably going to be a lot cheaper and therefore not as good, but they are going to have to pay for it again, which is kind of nice. But either way, you don't want to be casting this on their 1 or 2 cost minion or even their 3 cost minion, or it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Cool. What are we dusting?
Astral Communion. This is a 4 cost epic spell. Gain 10 mana crystals. Discard your hand. So, the good news is you have lots of mana. The bad news is you get nothing to cast with it other than top deck cards.
Yeah. I mean, you already had 4 mana, unless maybe you're innervating and stuff to cast it earlier.
Yeah.
So you're really gaining maybe something like 6 mana crystals, discarding your whole hand. Man, and if you do top deck this card, I mean, it's worthless.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't see. This feels like one of those cards, maybe in the future when there's some synergy with discarding your hand and you draw cards when you discard or something, maybe you could make it work. But yeah, current game, I don't see anything here.
Yeah, I hear you. It's too finicky. It's too unreliable. You're only going to have 2 of these in your deck, and even when you draw them, it's kind of like Deathwing. It's it's almost like your last gasp, but at least Deathwing puts a 12/12 on the board. This does nothing.
This does nothing.
The ways to make this work are to have a lot of card draw spells in your deck, so that hopefully you're drawing one of those after Astral Communion, and then you can start casting multiple cards a turn. Alternatively, you can try and have some things on the board that let you draw cards, Acolytes of Pain or something like that. So then you cast this to flush your hand, then you try to get some cards back. But I don't think we're going to see any sort of high-end decks to make this work. This is a novelty card for novelty decks, and maybe some sort of Tavern Brawl deck.
Yeah, Tavern Brawl deck seems like one of those things where if it's one of those ones where you're fixed at 1 mana or something, and maybe this lets you bypass that and suddenly get 10.
Now, in that case, I tried to work around that 1 mana restriction.
Oh, really?
With a lot of different ways, including Innervate, and they gave me nothing. Even Innervate didn't work.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're hard and fast on those rules. So before we leave Druid, Scott, I got asked about one card I thought for sure you were going to pick. Living Roots.
Oh, yeah. I like Living Roots quite a bit.
Okay. Is there something about it that made it just not quite as good?
No, I just thought that Darnassus Aspirant and Mulch were pretty good, but
okay.
I put Living Roots up there. I think they gave Druid a lot of love. They also gave some Beast Druid synergy. I thought they were all good picks on it. Well, not all, but there were a few good picks in Druid.
Yeah. Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
I'll take over from here, Scott. We're doing Hunter next. You want to talk beasts? Let's talk about Bear Trap, a 2-cost secret. After your hero is attacked, so it's after your hit, summon a 3/3 bear with taunt. This guy is incredible, right? It's great stats, so it's 2 costs for a 3/3 bear with taunt. And Scott, one thing you brought up, and actually I'd love to hear you talk more about, is kind of the crossover with Explosive Trap and why it's particularly valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting. I still haven't been able to figure out if it's more advantageous for them to add new traps to the game that have the same trigger criteria or not. And I think what I came up with is either way, as they add new traps, they're sort of making secrets rather. They're making all secrets for that class better. Because in this case, because it shares the same trigger criteria with Explosive Trap. It's after your hero is attacked. They can sort of poke around the edges and they can figure out, okay, well, it's not Freeze Trap and it's not Snake Trap, and but they don't know if it's Explosive Trap or Bear Trap. And so now they used to know how to play around it if they could triangulate which trap it was, and now they can't. Now they have to be prepared for either of them. And the mere fact that the others in the game, regardless of what you're using, does actually mean that they're going to probably play suboptimally in some circumstances because they no longer have the certainty of knowing what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because these are probably the two best or most widely used hunter secrets too. So it's not like you're kind of gimping yourself to run both of them. You want to run both of them already. And so this question mark is just kind of a perk on top of it.
Yep. Yeah, and I do think Snake Trap is pretty darn good, and I do think the Freeze Trap is pretty darn good as well in the decks that want them. Bear Trap and Explosive Trap do tend to do better in nearly any deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, I will say there's a slight downside here of this is a very slow card, so it's great, right? You're going to get a 3/3 Bear with Taunt for 2 mana. That's obviously hugely efficient, but your opponent does get to trigger it, and so if they're in control mode, for example, and they're just trying to dominate the board, they can choose to postpone bringing this thing out by not attacking you and instead controlling the board. They can also work around it by, say, only doing direct damage or hero powers to hurt you. And if it's if they're going in for the final death strike, they can just pump something up big enough to maybe kill you with one last hit. So this really doesn't do much good at the end of the game. You really need to cast it when you still have a lot of life.
Yes,
because you need to take one hit, and then it's probably going to prevent you from taking further hits.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of games where this actually, if you play it early, right, they proc it, and then really they have nothing else to do. They don't have the mana, they don't have cards to get rid of it, so you kind of get a 3/3 with charge, because you get to use him basically the first turn you have him on the board, which is really nice.
Yeah, this is a fairly rare card for secrets anyway. That's really good at the beginning of the game and gets kind of worse the longer the game goes on.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, draft. King's Elec. So we played with this in the Tavern Brawl bunch. It's a 2-cost, 3/2, battle cry, reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, draw it. And it's a beast, which is actually really important for Hunter. Because the best kind of 2-drop for Beast Hunter was the Bloodfen Raptor, right? Which is just a 3/2 blank. There was nothing else on there. And I mean, even if King's Elec is a 50% chance, that's kind of how I read it. I don't know how you look at it, Scott, but I look at it, Battle Cry, 50% chance to draw a card. That's great. I love it. That's value.
So in an arena deck, it might even be a hair lower, because remember that ties are losses.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so if your deck is not built to take advantage of it, it's not necessarily great, but you know what? Taking a 3/2 beast, which is a fine, serviceable card. I mean, these days I'd put it sort of on average in arena if you're playing a hunter.
Yeah.
And then adding possibly the ability to draw a card to it is great. I mean, even if it's, say, a 40% chance. But if you've got this thing, then you may be able to lean slightly more towards control and more expensive minions. I personally probably would have put this under craft, best of craft, because I think it's better in a deck that you've constructed to be a little more control and a little more expensive, so that your proc rate can get higher than 50%.
Yeah. So what value do you hold on Joust for getting information about your opponent's deck? Because obviously you're revealing information about your own deck as well. Do you see any value there? Like, oh, look, a Malagos popped up. I know what their deck is now.
Not a whole lot typically. I have learned a thing or two early. Like, I was playing a rogue, and I was surprised to see a Cold Light Oracle. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's a mill rogue, so, you know, I have to be a little more wary of mass removal. B, I should probably do what I can to hit him fast before he can get his loop on. I've also had cases where, you know, my King Crush gets shown to my opponent as a finisher, and then I noticed that they're playing a little more conservatively with their life. It's like, there went that. But the good news there is I drew a King Crush.
Yeah.
A free King Crush. I'll take it.
Did you get to play him?
I did.
Okay, good. Yeah. Let's talk about a card we never want to play. for psychological reasons as well as balance reasons. Ball of Spiders, a 6-cost spell. Summon 3 1/1 web spinners, which is a tongue twister in itself. I feel like I must be missing something here, Scott. I don't get it. Like, there is some synergies, right? You're getting tons of beasts. So any sort of beast procs that you're getting when they die or come into the board, awesome. A ton of RNG. I mean, you could get 3 King Crushes out of those web spinners. But there's just so many better things to spend 6 mana on, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, you say, why am I spending 6 mana to get 3 1-cost minions? And the answer is, well, because you don't have to play all those other cards, and because you're going to be going through at least 6 beasts. Another way of looking at this is, though it's slow as heck, you are kind of drawing 3 cards, right? So you're not only getting the 3/1/1s up front, but you're drawing 3, and not just 3 cards, but 3 beast cards on the tail end of that, which is arguably above average in the deck that wants those. And if you look at something like Nourish from Druid, well, that's 5 mana for 3 cards, and this is 6. So I think if you were to see through all of the value of this card, which means you play it, you play the web spinners, you go through all the web spinners, you get the cards from them, and then you play all of those, and they live their lives and die, or help you win the game, then, okay, you've probably gotten your mana's worth. I actually do believe that. But that's such a long time. And we've just described like 5 turns beginning to end, and it can't start till turn 6.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not that if you see the value through, it's bad. I think it's fine to slightly good if you get all the value out of it. It just is so much work to get all the value out of it.
Yeah, and it's by the time you're drawing those 3 beast cards and then playing them, you're playing them up against 8 mana cost minions, which can easily 2 for 3 for 1 your little beast that you dropped on the board.
Yep, I agree, and there's probably some interesting synergy with things like Scavenging Hyena and some of the Beast synergy cards, but it's just too much work.
Yeah, so weird. Also, spiders are awful, so you don't want them. All right, next class. I'm taking this one too, Scott, because I couldn't let you have it. I love it too much, which is a new feeling for me. We're doing mages. Up first, Best to Craft, Ronin. So this is actually the legendary we opened last week on the show, so people should be familiar with it. It's an 8-cost, 7/7. With Death Rattle, add 3 copies of Arcane Missiles to your hand. And Arcane Missiles is the 1-cost spell that is deal 3 damage randomly. Or it deals 1 damage 3 times to random dudes.
Right.
So, I mean, I've said this a bunch last week. I just got super into spell power decks. He fits perfectly into that. But the thing I like about him is, unlike Malygos, which is kind of the other legendary that goes into spell power decks, Ronin actually feels like he's pretty good in any mage deck. He's really strong with spell power, right? But he's still just kind of value by himself. A 7/7 and 3 arcane missiles for 8 mana is great.
Yeah, there's a deck archetype out there called Tempo Mage. I have a spin on it, but it's pretty similar. I just call it Spell Mage. But it's lots of things that proc off of spells. It's not about spell power, but it's about procking off of casting spells. And Ronin does really, really well in there. There's so much good synergy opportunity. You've got you've got Archmage Antonidas, you've got Flame Wakers, you've got your Mana Worms. I mean, the list goes on. And I want to point out that those 3 Arcane Missiles, while Arcane Missiles, a lot of people don't particularly care for that spell, 3 of them adds up to 9 damage for 3 mana, compared to, say, Avenging Wrath, which is 8 damage for 6 mana. So you get more damage for half the mana cost. And you can break it up into installments. You get 3 spell triggers. You get 3 enhancements of spell power. I mean, it's bananas. It's so good. And a 7/7 for 8 isn't actually that much of a premium. It's about a mana and a half premium to get that. This is well worth it.
Yeah. Awesome. Best card to draft? We got Polymorph Boar. So this is one we're a little less in agreement on, Scott, because I'm super hyped for this card. It's a 3-cost spell. Transform a minion into a 4/2 boar with charge. So you can do it to a friendly minion or an enemy minion. It turns into a 4/2 with charge. So I love this card, right? It's great on defense. It's great on offense. I'm using it in the spell power kind of proc deck, similar to what you were saying, Scott. A lot of times when you have like Flame Wakers on the board and stuff, you play this and it procs the damage. Sometimes it kills it as well. It's cheaper than Polymorph Sheep, right? Polymorph is normally 4 cost. This is 3 cost. Fun fact, though, that I did not expect is when you play it on a minion, it resets the attack counter. So a lot of, like, say I have a 4/4 on the board, my Azure Drake. I attack for 4, and then I polymorph it, and he can attack again. And then you can polymorph it again, and he can attack again. As many times as you can do that. I've actually won a couple games now with just using it to deal basically 8 damage to the face by casting on my own dude over and over again.
Yeah, it is versatile. I'll give it that. It is not efficient. So it can be used 2 ways, right? It can be used offensively and defensively. And offensively, you're saying you're going to use it to do 4 extra damage, which is fine if you're going for the kill, but you are essentially sacrificing one of your own minions to do that. So you're really only talking about for the kill in that scenario.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have, say, a fireball. Instead of doing 4 damage for 3 mana, I'd rather do, say, 6 for 4. And then on defense, man, I don't want to give him 2 hit points to kill him, because part of the value of Polymorph is you either don't worry about the 1/1 at all, or you can at least throw your Flame Blast, your hero power at him and knock him out. You can't do that with this. So you're going to have to spend either a whole other card, a whole other card, like a minion on the board or something out of your hand, something to actually kill them that turn. Otherwise, they get a 4/2 on their turn they're going to come at you with. And you just spent 3 mana and a card to give them a 4/2, which is presumably smaller than what they had. But, I mean, how much smaller can it really be? So I look at both those scenarios and I'm like, man, I'm spending 3 mana and a card, and maybe, like in a case of offensively, and another card, and I just don't feel like I'm walking away with that much.
Okay. See, the big thing for me is getting it down to 2 health. When they drop a big fatty on the board, and you suddenly give it 2 health, and you can trade it with your 1-cost minion, or like a little token you had out there plus your hero power. I don't know. I've had a lot of good success, but I think a lot of it to me is the versatility that you bring up. That it's never amazing, right? There's always, for whatever you're using it for, there's always a card that does that one thing better than it does, or more efficiently than it does. But it does like 4 different things, and that to me makes it super valuable.
It's all you, man.
All right.
Draft away. I will not compete for this card.
All right. That's a deal.
Yep.
All right. Best to dust, other than Polymorph 4, if you're listening to Scott over there. Flame Lance. 5-cost spell. Deal 8 damage to a minion. It's a common card. So, I mean, this card is just, it feels so worthless, right? There's already so many. Mage is not lacking removal. It has no shortage of ways to kill minions. And this is just so expensive and so restrictive.
I agree, man. I mean, it's a lot of damage. It feels like it's a giant killer. I don't know. I don't need a giant killer quite that bad.
Yeah.
This feels like it's about the same level of cost efficiency as Fireball, give or take, except you can't hit face with it. So I don't know. It's a pretty big premium for such a big limitation.
Yeah, and even with Fireball, how many times are you doing overkill damage? With this, I imagine you're doing overkill damage a lot of the time.
Yeah, totally. And I would compare this most directly to the rogue spell Assassinate, right? Mm-hmm. Except that Assassinate will do the job, period. This won't get through the Divine Shield. This won't get through things with a huge number of hit points like Ysera or whatever. Yeah. Sure, most of the time it'll kill whatever you're aiming at, but it won't always. And so, if you're just doing a pound for pound comparison, it just shows Assassinate is way better than this, and that doesn't necessarily mean this is bad, but if relative to another card it's distinctly worse, how good can it actually be? Yeah,
it's weird because it's so close to Fireball.
Yeah.
In cost and damage and all that sort of stuff, but it's just worse. So let me give you 2 community opinions on this card from the Hearthstone comments. This card exists for one reason and one reason only: to avoid the new expansion diluting Mage's wonderful removal options in Arena.
Mm-hmm.
So you think this is going in there just to make sure that draft you aren't getting fireballs? Sometimes you're getting this, and then you're like, oh, sad days.
That may have been. That's interesting. Mage felt like it was in a pretty good place before. It felt like one of the few classes that didn't need a whole lot of help. And I hadn't thought about Arena, diluting things in Arena, but yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this is a common. It does help with board control, and I think it helps do what Blizzard wants mages to do. But Fireball was just, people just stockpile them in their hands and then go for the kill unexpectedly. And this does kind of fix that problem a bit.
Yeah. All right. Next comment. This is the first card that's ever been balanced by its golden animation. Because this is probably the best golden animation of any card I have seen, Scott. It's got the lance going through the middle, and then like the circles around it are rotating around it. It looks incredible.
I am totally mesmerized by this thing. It is amazing.
Yeah, the stars are even moving in the background and stuff.
Yeah, and you could tell they totally removed like all the little circles off the non-gold card, because the ones on the gold card are actually aligned differently.
You're right.
It's probably just the best golden animation I've seen.
Yeah. So there you go. That's how it's balanced. It's so cool that you're going to want to play it anyways.
Oh, man. All right. Ready
Take
for
us
some
to the
paladin
next
action?
class.
Right.
Dude. I'm so ready for paladin action.
So the best to craft, I have the Murloc Knight. I do love this guy. Yeah. He is a 4 mana cost 3/4, so he's a mana shy on the vanilla test, with an Inspire effect of summon a random Murloc. And it should be noted that the Murloc Knight is in fact a Murloc. So there is a chance that you will get him.
And it is the best feeling when it happens.
Yeah, it is. And I even got him off of Neptulon and Shaman. I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played Neptulon, and a turn later, I'm like, I just didn't even pay attention to what I drew because I figured it'd be a bunch of tiny guys, and I'm like, what is this Paladin card doing in my hand? And it took me a while to realize, oh my god, he's the Murloc I drew. That's cool. But yeah, so summon a random Murloc, and there's some good ones. You can get another Murloc Knight, and that synergy adds up pretty quickly. There are some big Murlocs, even though, I mean, not huge, but there are some bigger Murlocs. And if you can get 2 or 3 casts of these things, and I think this is by design, a lot of the Murloc cards buff other Murlocs, so you can build up a little bit of an army that self-synergizes there. But that'll take a few turns to do that.
Yeah, I just really like how many tools Paladins are getting to keep their board full, right? Because old school Paladin, I mean, that's all they needed, right? If they could keep the board full, if they had stuff to throw buffs on, they were happy. They could win games. And between this and the Silverhand Regent, man, there's a lot of very cool ways to just tap that hero power and boom, your board is filling up like crazy. The thing I like about this one is the Silverhand Regent is kind of boring. Like, it's just, okay, you get 2 1/1s, that's great. And Justicar Trueheart, great, you get 2 1/1s. But this guy, I just love the anything could pop out of there. So fun.
Yeah, there is kind of a cool Inspire / hero power Paladin going around. You get Justicar Trueheart, where you get, so your power makes 2 1/1s. You bring out a Murloc Knight. Suddenly you're casting a whole army of dudes every time you use your hero power. It can get ridiculous.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I played against one as like, okay, do a full board clear. Very next turn, oh, his board is full again. No big deal. He spent 2 cards to fill his whole board. That's cool.
Yeah, and they're weenies, but I mean, weenies can get the job done because they can trade or they can punch face. And the thing is, a lot of times I've noticed, we've talked a few times about, is it better to have, for example, a 3/3 or 3 1/1s? And I think the answer differs on different situations, and I think on average those are on par. But one of the situations where it's great to have a lot of small minions is when you decide that you're on the offensive, and they have, say, 1 or 2 big guys, and you have a board full of small guys because they can't kill all your big guys or all your small guys, and they're wasting the attacks of their big guys if they even try to chip away at it. So a lot of times they'll try to punch face, but if you can get just a little taunt to get in their way, or, there's so many interesting opportunities there. That's where something like, I think a Neutron works really well in a weenie deck for that very reason, because you can drop him alongside all these other things, and if they've got 1 or 2 big guys on the board, well, the Neutron's going to stop them, and you're going to be able to punch face with the whole board full of guys again next turn.
Yeah, which, I mean, is the equivalent. I mean, it's 5 damage a turn, right? It adds up.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Because when you look at those 1/1s across the board, you're like, 1/1's no big deal. But every turn it's 5 damage. It's like a 5/5 just sitting there punching you in the face.
Yep, and with Quartermasters, and I forget what the name of the new guy is, but that gives all the Silverhand recruits +1 attack.
Oh yeah, the horse trainer or something.
Yeah. So people get scared leaving stuff out. They spend a lot of energy trying to kill him, and for good reason. Murloc Knight, when he comes on the board, is a lightning rod, as he should be, because I think he's a highly efficient card. I think he's a very strong card. And if they don't kill him, you will probably end up killing them.
Yeah. Very cool. So Scott, before we move on to best of draft, there's one card that I've been seeing a ton lately that I wasn't sure if it was going to be your best to craft yet. So I got to know your opinion on Mysterious Challenger.
Yeah. It's made its way into a few decks for sure, and I'm running it in mine. Pretty good. I think some of the Paladin secrets are actually underrated, overlooked.
Yeah.
And for 1 mana, they can't be too great. They can't compete with sort of the mage secrets on average, but there are some gems in there. And if you have, say, 2 or 3, I think I'm running it with just 2 copies of 2 different secrets in my deck, but that's enough, right? Because if I'm sort of drawing and automatically playing 2 1-mana cost cards for what amounts to a half mana premium on Mysterious Challenger, because it's 6/6 for 6, right?
Yeah.
So you only need like half a mana's worth of value out of them. And how many times are you not, even 1 secret on the board more than pays for that? If you've built your deck to support him, you're not going to ever draw dry on that guy. I mean, how many times are you going to have played either played all your secrets or already have them in play? I mean, those are the times you should just hold on to them and play them as soon as your secrets fire.
Yeah, I've actually seen it. One deck I played against, it procced 4 secrets, which I feel like might be diluting your deck too much at that point.
Yeah.
But actually with just 2, I mean, I can think of 2 secrets right now that I would definitely want in my deck at all the time. So, I mean, that seems worthwhile. I'm
a huge fan of Avenge. Redemption in some decks is okay, but your deck kind of has to be built for it. There's the new one that gives +1/+1 to everybody on your board. That thing's kind of hit and miss, but it can be really, really efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, that one doesn't fire if you have nobody on the board, so it's a little safer than people think.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it will fire if you have only 1 guy on the board, and in that case, it's not particularly efficient because you spent, essentially a mana and a card for just adding 1/1 to your side of the board, and not really under your control exactly. So I try to have at least 2 minions out, but if I think they're going to kill everything on the board, or if my side of the board's empty, I'm fine. I'll cast it on turn 1 if I want. If I, for example, I'm going to cast the 3 mana cost, bring 3 1/1s into play.
Oh,
Muster for battle.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's good uses for it. It's better than it looks.
Very cool. All right. Sorry to derail you there. What's your draft card?
All right, my draft card is Seal of Champions, and I know this one's a little controversial, but this is a 3 mana cost spell, common. Give a minion +3 attack, boo, and Divine Shield. So I think part of the reason people kind of frown at this is just how expensive it is. Because you can get +3 attack and Divine Shield. I think those are both 1 mana cost cards for Paladin. Divine Shield might even be 0 cost. But I argue, in practice, this is very strong. You basically use this as removal. You cast this on something, you attack with it, you will probably trade for something, it'll lose its Divine Shield, but you essentially traded Seal of Champions for whatever it was that you killed, and the creature that's left has +3 attack. So it does require an attack of a minion, which means you need a minion on board, so that's sort of the extra cost that it's asking for you. But otherwise, I mean, we would talk about things like Flame Lance. Well, there aren't many things that you can put +3 attack on and not kill what you're trying to kill. I mean, there's sometimes, right? You got a little tiny guy and you're trying to kill a giant. Okay, 1 swing might not do it. But still, this does work a lot. And I've actually used this just sometimes to punch face with something like behind a top minion that I've got Blessing of Wisdom on. I'm like, screw it. I'll add a bunch of attack to it. I'll give it Divine Shield for some extra survivability. I'll attack. I'll draw my extra card. And now I have to get through my top minion and this guy. They probably won't, which means next time I attack, I'll do even more damage and get my Blessing of Wisdom proc again.
Yeah.
So I think on paper, it doesn't look that great. In practice, I think it actually delivers because the 2 effects are 2 effects that really want to go together.
Okay. So when I saw this card, I immediately thought of Scarlet Crusader, right? Because it's the same cost, and you get a 3/1 with Divine Shield.
Sure.
I I don't know. I'm worried about going all in on one minion, right, and giving them an option for a 2-for-1.
Well, so I hear you. Except that you only want to cast this on a minion before you attack with it that turn. It's like Blessing of Kings or some of the other Blessings cards.
Yeah.
You really only want to cast it when you're going to attack with that creature, and that is under your control. So if I'm just going to make up something here. I've got a 1/1 on the board. I cast this on it. You've got a 4/4. I attack your 4/4. Well, now I just traded my 3 mana cost spell essentially for your 4/4. I'm left over with +3 attack left on my small guy. Now you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that small guy. So I've already gotten my trade for the card. It's not a 2-for-1, right?
Okay.
It's rarely going to be like, I don't see how it would be a 2-for-1 unless you choose to punch face instead, in which case you would think the punching face damage is well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're throwing out, because presumably, at least a lot of times I'm thinking I'd be putting this on a 1/1. So if they throw out like an AoE removal, they kind of kill it for free, is how I was thinking of it.
Yeah. I mean, I put this on Murloc Knights. It becomes a 6/4 divine shield.
Yeah.
Like I put it on my Murloc Knight, I punch face, and then I use my Inspire effect. Well, now they got to get through a 6/4 divine shield, to kill that thing. That's rough. And I did 6 damage to their face, which is 20% of what I need to win the game with one punch.
All right. Sounds like I just need to play with it more.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by the scenarios you say.
I think when you break it down to its components and you compare it to its individual cards, you're like, man, these seem like two like really cheap effects, and I don't get it. But certain effects go together really, really well, and these two go together really well. And I do think that if you actually play with it, you'll find that it's much more useful in a much wider array of scenarios than you may have originally guessed.
Okay, very cool. And one thing I love more than anything, Scott, is removal that leaves a body behind.
There you go.
That's kind of what this sounds like, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of consumes the attack of one of your minions as an additional cost that people don't always think about. But to me, that helps explain why it's so good in a way, right? Because otherwise, you think about like, oh, I'm just going to attack for 6 damage with impunity or whatever. Well,
yeah.
For 3 mana. Well, that's why it's so good, is because you were paying for it in another way too. But a lot of times, especially if you're trying to control the board, you're using creature attacks for that anyway. But here it's being put to better effect than, say, a 1/1 would on its own.
Very cool. All right. Argent. Oh, wait. What's the next dust card? I almost said it. Oh, no, I said the first word.
The best to dust. Argent Lance. This is a 2 mana cost 2/2 weapon. With a battle cry, reveal a minion in your deck. If yours costs more, +1 durability. So, I mean, to me, this is almost the opposite of power creep, right? This is them trying to take it down a notch.
Yeah.
You compare it to things like the Wind Fury Axe, and that is a 2 mana cost 3/2.
It's Stormforged Axe. Yeah.
Well, no, I was comparing it to the Warrior one, for example.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just worse than its sort of contemporaries. It's good in the early game if you're trying to control a lot of small guys, or for the first couple of turns to help keep the board clean. If you've got a deck where, a joust deck where you're likely to win, that's cool. I do like that this is a cheap card that isn't a minion. So this actually does go well in joust decks for that reason. It's more likely to proc, and it doesn't sort of weigh down the quality of your jousts. So cheap, non-minion joust cards are good at synergizing with joust.
Yeah, there's such a huge difference between 2 attack and 3 attack for me.
Right.
Whereas,
I agree.
like, the Fiery War Axe, when you play that, you're going to kill anything they drop down in the first 3 turns. And this thing is, you'll kill 50%, and the other 50 you won't want to attack, and it gets so messy. Yeah,
I mean, you have to assume it's going to be a 2/2 for 2. In some decks, it'll be more and more often, but yeah.
Yeah, even then, I mean, giving it more durability isn't always great because that's slowing down your True Silver Champions or your Sword of Justices that you can't play until this thing is done on turn 5 or turn 6.
Well, you can. You're just sort of throwing away value.
Yeah, you can, yeah. And then this card just becomes even worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sunk cost, as they say. I mean, once it's on the board, you've already paid the mana, so you should do the right thing from that on. But the right thing is often to get as much value as you can from it until you cast the next thing. But if it's turn 4 and it's the perfect mana cast, and they got a 4 mana or 4 health thing that you must kill, you probably want to cast True Silver.
Scott, the right thing to do is just to dust it and not put it in your deck. There you go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I took it to the chin. I have been taking this thing out for a test drive. It's not as bad as, it's not like you're getting a kick in the pants or anything when you use it, but there's so often when I'm just like, really, it's just a 2/2 right now. That's bad.
Yeah. And
it's not like, so a lot of the Joust and the Inspire cards, they're like good if they activate, like really good if they activate, or just slightly bad if they don't. This thing's pretty bad if it doesn't activate and just slightly good if it does. Yeah. I wouldn't even say slightly good. I would just say it's on par if it does.
Yeah, it barely breaks even if it procs.
Right. So the sort of center point of value of this card is I think lower than most of the other Joust cards.
Yeah, compared to something like Master Jouster, where it's like, yeah, you're willing to get a bad deal because every now and then it's an amazing deal.
Right. Yeah.
This card is never going to win you games.
Right.
All right. Up next, Priest. I'm making you go again, Scott.
All right.
Tell me all your priestiness.
So, best to craft, we have Worm Rest Agent. This is a 2 mana cost 1/4, which on the surface is not anything to get excited about. But Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, gain +1 attack and taunt. I will say a 2/4 taunt for 2 mana is something worth getting excited about.
Yeah. So the way I look at this guy, and you can tell me if I'm crazy, is to me it's a 20% more stats than vanilla. So I see that like more valuable than a 6 cost that gets 1 extra stat, right? Because 1 extra stat at this low cost, it's actually a big difference.
Correct, and you get taunt on top of that.
Oh yeah, and taunt on top of that. Is it fair to say that this guy he's just blanket OP? Like, this is very clearly Blizzard saying, hey, you should play Priest Dragon. You'll like it.
Right. Priest really needed some help. They're really obviously trying to make Dragon Priest a thing because it didn't quite catch in the last expansion. I think when I looked at some of these cards, the conditional dragon cards, I said, it's not that great. And I was so used to in Blackrock Mountain, I couldn't get my dragon stuff to proc often enough. But They finally hit critical mass this time around. They added enough new dragons. They added enough new cards to proc off dragons. The dragon decks became a thing. And so once I switched in my head from like, oh, I'll never be able to activate this to no, I will pretty much always get to activate this. That's what makes them good. If you can reliably bring this out as a 2/4 taunt for 2 mana, that's incredible. And most of the people I play against are bringing it out for that.
Yeah, it's very rare that I don't get the proc, especially even on turn 2, coin turn 1, I can almost always get it. A 2/4 taunt, that's almost always going to 2 for 1 against your opponents.
Oh, in the early game, absolutely.
3 2s, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. What do we got to draft?
Best to draft is Holy Champion, and Holy Champion, this thing is good. Okay, she is a 4 mana cost. 3/5, and which isn't bad. You're only half a mana off. And whenever a character is healed, gain +2 attack. What? That is insane. I'll tell you, Light of the Naru. Everybody overlooked Light Warden. In the original set.
Yeah.
Nobody played Light Warden, and it's fine. It's too fragile. But then Light of the Naru came out. It's like, okay, you're gonna let me heal 3 health, and you're gonna give me a Light Warden. And okay, that's what they had to do to make that card catch some people's attention. And it turns out you start using Light of the Naru, and those Light Wardens can sometimes get some real work done.
Yeah.
The problem with them is that they were so easy to kill. They were just so fragile.
Yeah.
This fixes that problem. It's a 3/5 that, in a priest deck, you're probably healing left and right. You cast something like a Holy Nova, a Mass Heal, good God, or Circle of Healing, good God, this thing will jump up to 9, 11 health in one, or attack in one casting. I have not yet taken this thing out for a test drive, but this may actually be the most powerful card in the entire set as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, because I've really liked playing heal decks before, and I ran stuff like Light Warden and stuff, but the trouble is there's so many great ways to heal, but all the ways before this card to benefit from it, Light Warden, Shadow Boxer, the North Shard Clerk, they all get killed by 1 or 2 cost removal spells that everyone is running, right? Everyone's running something like Arcane Shot or the Dark Bomb.
Yeah.
And this guy, finally, it takes that effect, and not only takes that effect, but takes the very best version of that effect. So it's not just minions, it's not just friendly characters, it's any character whenever they're healed, +2 attack. Amazing.
Yeah, this thing, I've been wanting to build a priest deck. Priest is probably my least played class, and it's what I'm least familiar with. But man, this card excites me, and just because I grew to be a fan of Light Warden, I thought that that was a very good card on its own, and I look at this thing, I'm like, they just turned it up to 11.
Yeah.
+2 attack on such a, something that a single spell can proc 5 times. A 0 cost spell, for that matter, can proc 5 times. That's insane.
Yeah, even at the very worst case scenario, you have to heal your opponent's hero and then hit them. You're breaking even and boosting your stats for next turn.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I honestly, this gives Priest a lot of explosive power.
Yeah, it's funny because people are so excited about Dragon Priest that nobody is even... I haven't seen anybody really start dabbling in Heal Priest at all. It feels like this is going to be one of these things when the meta rolls around between what counters what. Heal Priest is going to be in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I believe that. All right, next up is our Best to Dust. That is Flash Heal. This is a 1 mana cost spell, restore 5 health. That's it. Yep. So we are not big fans of spells that do nothing other than heal.
Yeah.
The good news is, there is some healing synergy, as we just discussed, although this will only proc that once, but you've got other things like North Shard Cleric and all that. You typically don't want to use it on yourself. You would typically want to use this on something on the board already. Not quite sure what that would be with Priest, but there's a lot of big creatures you can probably put in there, and there's a lot of spells that increase the toughness, so you'll probably get some mileage out of it. There's a world that says that this is almost removal in some cases. If you've got a big body on the board and you can heal it before you attack something big on the other side of the board and kind of do a trade, okay, cool. A really good combo I've seen with this is like Akanai Soul Priest or was it Shadow Form that lets you turn this into deal 5 targeted damage for 1 mana. That's a really good deal if you're running a deck with Akanai Soul Priest. I'm not sure it's worth using in that case, but that's kind of the one combo that really makes this thing like, oh, that's suddenly very good.
Yeah, it's just like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, Light of the Naru, right? Same mana cost, restore 3 health, so 2 less health, but you get a Light Warden. I will take that trade every day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so weird. Yeah, other than Holy Champion, it just feels like Priest, to me, is getting too many ways to heal and not enough safe ways to benefit, right? To me, this does not warrant a card spot. My hero power does this, half of this already.
Yeah, and Light of the Naru is a really good comparison. And even in the Akanai Soul Priest scenario where I said that this shined, Light of the Naru will still do 3 damage, and because whatever it hit will always be damaged, you'll get your minion off of that every time.
Yeah. Nice. All right, let's jump over to the next class, Rogue. Good old Rogue, which my experience with Rogue was a roller coaster this time. I was so excited at first, and then as I started playing with all the cards and realizing how they really worked instead of how I thought they worked, based on the text, I just got more and more depressed to the point where, like, I don't know, it's pretty slim pickings on Rogue cards this time around, I think. But let's do, for Best of Craft, we have Cut Purse. He has a 2 cost, 2/2, so a little under vanilla. But he has, whenever this minion attacks a hero, add the coin to your hand, which is fine in general. But the cool thing with Rogue, obviously, is combo is a big deal. And coin is the best way to proc combo effects on all your spells. Obviously, he's a 2/2, though. That just holds him back. You have to proc this effect once, maybe twice, for him to be really strong.
Yeah, even once, arguably, because you get that mana back, right? So then it was suddenly a 1/1, sorry, a 2/2 for 1 mana. And you can use that mana, it's sort of refunded for you to use at your convenience or to trigger combos on curve. Or so I would argue even 1 proc of this puts him clearly ahead.
Okay.
And if you can cast him with the normal coin on turn 1, as long as your opponent didn't say bring out a 2/1 for 1 mana on their turn, it'll be very difficult for them to kill them on turn 2, which means you will probably get an attack. So if your opponent has an open board or even only a 1/1 on the board, you should almost always coin this guy out on your own turn 1 if you get 2nd.
Oh, yeah. That's a good call.
Yeah, and he'll almost always get to attack.
It's a good investment. You invest a coin in him, he'll get you coins back.
Exactly my point. Yep.
One of my favorite comments. Someone theory crafting way too hard on this card. This card is a hard counter to a Hunter's Misdirection, which, of course, as we know, is a secret that no hunters play, while it's on an empty board. Because when you attack the hero, it procs a coin. Misdirection triggers, and it causes you to attack the hero again, and you get a 2nd coin. What?
Well, he'd attack you, and you're a hero.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
I misread his post. It was way too long of a post. It's like 5 sentences. I can't read that. But there you go. So there's a little bonus thing for him. He seems like the most kind of universal rogue card. That there were some other cards like Shady Dealer and stuff that were very specific rogue decks. But a lot of times, if I'm going to go out and craft stuff, I want it to fit in more than one deck, and so I like this guy.
And if you've got the seeds of any like miracle rogue stuff at all still going on, I mean, I know the Auctioneer was nerfed, but there's both the Auctioneer, there's the Violent Teacher, there's a couple other cards that the coins will proc.
Questing Adventurer, what?
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Cool. All right, so best to draft card. We got the Hamburglar. Oh, yeah. I love this. So this is a spell, Burgle. Add 2 random class cards to your hand from your opponent's class. And the art is clearly one of the rogues wearing WoW armor, but in the Hamburglar fashion, which was that old character from the 80s McDonald's commercials, which is awesome. So the obvious comparison is to Thoughtsteal on Priest, right? Which do similar things, but they steal it from the opponent's deck, not just from their class. And they take any cards, not just spells. Oh, no, sorry. Both these are random class cards, so it doesn't have to be spells. I really like this effect, right? You get on paper, you get an immediate card advantage, and you get a lot of fun surprise plays. You get to do combos that normally otherwise can't do, and sometimes are exceptionally strong because they weren't meant to be played together. Mm-hmm. It seems like a good fit for Control Rogue.
Yeah, I agree. And the class cards are, of course, because they're not neutrals, class cards do tend to be more powerful than the neutral cards. So you're, in theory, getting 2 above average quality cards. You just can't rely on any deck synergy from them.
Yeah, and to be fair, in Arena, I mean, I'm totally fine just getting random class cards instead of cards in their deck, because they probably have some pretty bad cards in there, because it's Arena. Yeah,
that's a good point. You may actually be getting better quality than what they have. It's possible.
Yeah. And come on, it's the Hamburglar. How could you not love this guy? I'm very disappointed he's not eating something of some kind as he's running, though.
Yeah, that bird's trying to follow him, though.
It is. Forever. Just an inch away. Never succeed. All right, let's go to the most depressing card in this whole set for me, which was the very first card I put in this document for we must recommend this card because it's incredible. And then slowly my faith was chipped away until I was left the bitter shell of a human being. I'm talking, of course, about Beneath the Grounds, a 3-cost spell, epic. Shuffle 3 ambushes into your opponent's deck. Ambush is a card. When drawn, you summon a 4/4 Nerubian. What? So, in my initial brain, this is incredible. You put it in their deck, you're denying them card draw. You can mill them like crazy and get 4/4s while you're milling. Well, here's all the things not in the card deck, or in the card text. If you mill the card, it doesn't spawn a 4/4, it just goes away. If you, when it's not mill, but when it's, what is it? When your hand is full. Mm-hmm. Is there actually a Hearthstone term for that?
I don't. Oh, I think some people just call it burned. The cards
Okay,
are
burn
burned.
it. Okay, yeah, they do kind of burn. So when you burn it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If they when they draw a card or when they draw ambush, it has them draw another card afterwards.
Yeah.
So you're not actually denying them a card draw, which is a really big downside. So I mean, you're adding cards to their deck, so you can't be milling them. Otherwise, you're working against your mill, right? So it's like a non-mill control rogue. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs to fire once, at which point it will have the tiniest of cost benefit. But you probably had to wait a while, and you didn't even know how long you were going to have to wait in order to get it to proc.
Yeah.
And then it's not till the second proc that it really, really shines. And, like Josh said, if you're actually actively burning cards in their hand, which normally in a mill deck is something you're excited to do and something you want to kind of burst to do so that there's that many cards of their deck they're not able to use, then in those scenarios, you're less likely to trigger this. It almost feels like if you're in a non-mill control deck, that's kind of where it shines. It's like, go ahead, we'll play the game as normal, we'll draw as normal, it's going to go on forever. Then over the course of that game, you can eventually get 12/12 worth of value for 3 mana, which is amazing. But your other cards and the rest of your deck just all need to be built around keeping them under control and, I don't know, just not letting them do their thing, not letting them attack you.
Yeah.
And that seems like a stretch. So between this and a new Barak, both of these are control-friendly cards that want to go for the long game. I just don't know if there's really a deck there.
Yeah, the Anubarak actually, I was really excited about. I almost picked that as the card to craft, just because of how interesting it is and just how good the stats are, just straight up. But it does feel like the Rogue has a lot of good deck options right now that just a plain vanilla control deck just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Shaman. What do you got, Scott?
Best to craft is Tuskar Totemic. This is a 3 mana cost, 3/2, so it's about a mana shy on the vanilla scale, but with the battle cry of summon any random totem. So the thing to note here is that there are currently 8 totems in the game. 4 of them can be generated from your hero power, which is not a great deal, right? Because at that point, you've just sort of paid 2 mana to have another totem on the board. Okay. But the other 4 are all cards that cost, I think, at least 1 mana and a card, and they all tend to be better. So there's the Vitality Totem, which is 0/4, I think, and gives you 4 mana to your hero every turn it's alive. Yep. There's the Manatide Totem, which lets you draw a card at the end of every turn. So if you happen to get that one, you're guaranteed to draw a card from it, which is great. There's the 3/4 Totem Golem, and
Flame
Tongue Totem, which is 0/2 and adds +2 attack to everything beside it. So all of those are pretty good. So there's a 50% chance you're going to sort of break even, but there's a 50% chance you're going to come out way ahead on this guy. And that'll probably, over time, with other expansions, they're probably never going to add new totems that would come from your hero power, but they probably are going to add other totems that are actually powerful spells. So this guy's only going to get more powerful over further expansions.
Yeah, I mean, if they ever add like a big totem creature, I mean, just even if it's a 10% chance, right? Like 10% chance to drop a 4/6 on the board, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with totems is, for the most part, they're small. I think Totem Golem is probably the biggest we'll see, but I think we might see some with really good effects. That's the thing with totems more often than their stats is their abilities. What's so scary about that is it used to be that was what you could rely on. Like, okay, well, they're doing big things to the board, but they're not adding bulk to the board. But now, the more totems you have, those can be amplified with all these cards that add stats to every totem on the board. That makes it really, really scary.
Yeah, I mean, even with the worst kind of totem RNG on this card, a lot of Shaman decks just need bodies on the board, right? They need stuff for Rockbiter weapon. They need stuff for Bloodlust. Like, this guy's just filling up the board. It's great.
Yep. Spell power totems, healing totems, those things, especially in aggregate, can actually pull their weight pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, something like a spell power totem is is like a mini lightning rod in itself, where it just scares the opponent. They feel like they have to get rid of it, even if they don't have to.
That's right. Yeah, because they don't know if you're going to make good use of it or not. And when
Yeah.
you've got things like Lightning Storm that you can use, that 1 extra point of damage on Lightning Storm is sick.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, next up, best to draft is Totem Golem. That 3/4 totem for 2 mana. It does have an overload of 1, so it kind of brings it into Spider Tank territory, but it's a totem, so it gets to benefit from all the totem enhancing cards in Shaman, which is another big boon. And it's the overload of 1 is sort of a deferred payment, which means you can cast this thing on turn 2 and have a 3/4 on the board on turn 2. And I'll tell you, when that happens, that is bad for your opponent, because there are very, very few things they can do on their turn 2 or turn 3 that will trade 1/1 on this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything that you can drop with 2 that has more than 3 health.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels a little bit like, it feels oppressive in the same way that like dropping a Northshire Cleric on turn 1 is. It's like, yeah, I dare you. Go ahead, put down Leper Gnome.
Right.
Kill it and draw a card. That's great. I dare you.
Yeah, so a lot of times it'll heavily influence your opponent's turn, the turn after you cast this, because a lot of times they will not throw out the thing that you can cost efficiently trade for it. So whether they do or don't, either way, that's really good for you, because you've either forced them to play suboptimally, or they continue on with their plan, at which point you get a cost efficient trade. You trade their card 1 for 1, and you've still got a 3-something in play to deal with.
Yeah, and I think the totem synergy before this expansion was easy to ignore. You're like, totems, great. What are you going to do? Totemic Might? Great. Give it health. That's awesome.
That was all there was.
Yeah. But this expansion gave a lot of really good ways to buff up totems, or get benefits for having totems, which is just really good.
Big time. Yep.
Cool. All right, what are we dusting?
All right, next up, Elemental Destruction. This is an epic, 3 mana cost, deal 4 to 5 damage to all minions with an overload of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you had me up until that point.
Well, even then, it's like, okay, I guess it's a 3 mana cost board reset. Like, I might play that sometimes, although I wouldn't be rushing to add it to any of my decks. But with an overload of 5, I just don't understand. It's not hurting your opponent. It's probably clearing your own board, except that you just spent mana this turn to cast it, and you're not going to have much mana next turn, if any, next turn to cast it. I just don't understand. Like, when my opponents have played this, I'm grateful for it, because then I get a whole turn to repopulate the board before they can do anything.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand this card. I mean, if it hurt the heroes too, maybe you could use it if you're ahead for a death blow. It would almost add some versatility. But I just don't understand this card.
Yeah, it feels like they took the worst parts of Hellfire, which is, hit everything, but hey, it also hits your opponent, so sometimes it's good, like you said. Oh, but this card doesn't do that. And then Lightning Storm, which is already a Shaman card, but it just cranked up the overload and barely increased the power, and then put them together. I mean, I just don't get. Yeah, I'm with you. This card seems bad in every sense of the word. The only situation that I could see playing it is when you're in a situation so desperate that you're just trying to start the game over and give them a free turn.
Give them a free turn.
Because you're already that far behind that you feel you're already more than one turn behind them. Like, just give up. You've lost.
Right, and that's how I see it. The only time you want to cast this is when you're behind. Which, first of all, I don't want to put cards in my hand or my deck that help me when I'm behind necessarily. I and do a full reset on my side as well. I want to put cards in that are going to help me actively win. Not there's something to be said about cards that are more powerful when you're behind, but I want them to be good when you're ahead. Still usable when you're ahead. Yeah. This is unusable when you're ahead. This is unusable when you're at parity. Yeah. And I feel like they could either drop the overload or it hurting your team, both of which are huge drawbacks. They should drop one of those, and the card would be okay to good in that state. As it is, I just do not understand why anybody would ever play this card.
Yeah. There you go. Verdict rendered. Also, the flavor text condemns it already. It says, I'm not a shaman or anything, but isn't elemental destruction the opposite of what they want to do? So, bam, flavor failure 2. There you go.
I mean, real quick, if we were trying to salvage some usefulness out of this card, I think it would have to be around Death Rattle shenanigans. Either like a Kale Thos and this, it can't be cast on the same turn, but something there, or something with comes back into play, Death Rattle effect. I mean, you got to have something along those lines.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth noting too, the overload, it doesn't make it much better, but a lot of times it's just 4, because if you're playing it on turn 3, you can only lose 4 crystals the next turn.
Why are you casting a full board reset on turn 3?
Because you're so far behind that you have no better option.
On turn 3?
On turn 3.
Oh, man. Okay, so bad. We're done.
So bad.
Goodbye.
All right. Hey, if you're playing it on turn, wait for it, 8, next turn you can do Lava Shock and unlock all those mana crystals. What?
And that is, I guess, somewhat interesting, is with Lava Shock, but I don't want to do 4 to 5 damage to my own minions. It's not something I want to do. Maybe in a big spell deck, because that is something that shamans are actually have somewhat viable with Crackle and Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst and all this big spell. Maybe in a spell heavy deck, it's a little more viable.
Yeah. Where every turn, half your mana crystals are overloaded from the previous turn.
Yeah, I guess that's the only home I can think of, and even then, I wouldn't say that it would be good.
All right, let's move to a class that I want to talk about more than Shaman, Warlocks. Because, boy, we've got some fun cards to talk about, Scott. Up first, one of the most fun cards in the whole set, in my opinion, Dreadsteed. A 4-cost 1/1. What? Awful. I can't believe it. Unacceptable. It's an epic. But wait. Death Rattle. Summon a Dreadsteed. So basically, you put this guy on the board, and until it's silenced, you just have a 1/1 forever. You can use it to trade, do Power Overwhelming, proc Mortal Coil, pretty much all sorts of stuff that you want to play around with. And every turn, or it can just be, hey, pay 4 damage every turn for the rest of the game. Deal 1 damage wherever you want it. That's pretty good too. But more than anything, this card is fun to play around with. If you enjoy deck building at all, I mean, you start toying around with Mal'Ganis and stuff like that, so suddenly they're 3/3s. And you start playing around with Baron Rivendare, so they create 2 when they die instead of 1. It just keeps going, procking over and over. It's there's a lot of fun things to do with.
Yeah.
You don't sound convinced over there.
Why do I want a board full of 1/1s that keep me from casting better minions? I don't know. I 4 mana for this guy, and if he's silenced, you're out of luck. If he's polymorphed, you're out of luck. I don't know. It feels like a gimmick, and I suppose a lot of cards are just gimmick cards, but in that one deck that makes good use of them, suddenly they're good. But I mean, he's fun. He's interesting. He's cool. He's one I don't think I see eye to eye with you on, but that's okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think he is hey, he's going to get you to legendary card. He is you can have amazing fun building a deck with him and just pull off some really cool combos and have fun with him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the Mal'Ganis synergy is pretty crazy. Dude, when he gets going, you have a few of these down, 3/3s, I mean, it gets out of control.
I agree with
that. But yeah. And hey, if they're polymorph and that's 4 mana for 4 mana, that's a fair trade. I'll take their polymorph on my 1/1 so I can not drop it on my other dudes.
All right, what's your next card that I disagree with?
Okay. Wrathguard. A 2-cost, so this is best to draft. 2-cost 4/3. Whenever this minion takes damage, also deal that amount to your hero. So Scott, let me preemptively guess your objections, all right? He's risky.
Mm-hmm.
Late game, he's going to sometimes be too risky to play, similar to Flame Imp, where you just can't risk taking the damage, so you can't put him down.
Uh-huh.
There is a hilarious video out there where a warrior has 38 damage and uses Shield Slam to deal 38 damage to this troop and outright kill his opponent.
Yep.
But man, the early game board control, to me, it's very similar to Flame Imp, where you're paying health. I just view it as paying 3 health up front to get a stronger than average minion.
So Flame Imp to me is right on the fence and arguably half a step over it of the right level of risk. I know a lot of people play Flame Imp. I do too. But he is risky. But at least there's a ceiling of 3 damage that you will take for that +1/+1. Here, you get your +1/+1, but you're going to take at least 3 damage. That's the bottom you're going to take. And a smart opponent will probably attack him, do 2 damage to him and then more damage to him. I mean, like, overkilling this guy, you will be overkilled yourself. Like, you'll take that much damage. So I don't know, man. Not interested. I'm out.
You're out? Okay.
I'm out.
All right. What are some alternative are you just down on kind of Warlock cards in this set?
Yeah, in general, I'm not impressed by the Warlock cards in this set.
Yeah, because there were like Demon Fuse and stuff. There were a lot of cards like I didn't really see better options for these picks. I mean, maybe the best option is just that plain vanilla Demon, 7 cost 6/8. Is that what we got?
Yeah, which is below the vanilla curve.
Yeah. Wilfred Fizzlebang is interesting.
Yeah.
A 6 cost, 4/4. Cards you draw from your hero power cost 1, but still, you don't be spamming that hero power too much. You're still paying 2 health every time.
Yeah, he's actually the one I'm fine with. And, you'd presumably put the Justicar Trueheart in the same deck, so you're not playing your life anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the cream of the crop, but that's not saying a whole lot, because most of these cards, I was looking through them like, man, Blizzard clearly felt like Warlock was fine where they were. They didn't need any help, which is true, because there's at least, 2, 3 plus, Demon Warlock, Handlock, Zoo, are all different archetypes that are all completely viable in the meta at high levels, let alone low levels.
It's funny because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards out of the 7 Warlock cards are all demons. So it felt like they were trying to boost the demon deck, but all these cards are kind of worse than existing demons. So I don't know if this was like a trap expansion. Like, hey, Warlock demon decks are doing too good. Let's give them a lot of bad demons and see if they make their decks worse.
Well, yeah, and it will for some of the randomized effects, right? Bane of Doom is worse because I get a Wrathguard off of it now. I'm like, I didn't want a Wrathguard. Suddenly, there wasn't a liability to playing Bane of Doom before, and now there is. You might get a Wrathguard, and that can really mess you up.
Yeah. Or you could get a Dreadsteed Scott and have the time of your life.
Yeah, he can go gnaw on somebody's ankles somewhere.
Dude, so many ankles.
Yeah. And I think they also invested some of their card pool in trying to set the stage for more of the discard stuff, but I don't think it hit critical mass. You may have been playing your Doom Guard already, but it's still not worth putting in any of these discard cards in because they're all so bad. You need more critical mass on that before you go all in on it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the card we're going to dust since we're talking about most of them. Dark Bargain won the award of worst card out of bad cards, so it should feel really bad. It is a 6-cost spell. It's an epic. Destroy 2 random enemy minions. Okay, that's great. That's above value, right? Discard 2 random cards.
Well, now hold on a minute. You say it's above value, but Hunter has a card, Deadly Shot. Isn't it 3 mana to kill a random enemy minion?
Oh, you're right.
So it's kind of stacking 2 of those and then adding a huge drawback.
Yeah. So if there wasn't the discard, it's on par, right? Okay, great. But yeah, discard 2 random cards. You have to be feeling really lucky to play this card. Because you have to get lucky every time you play it, I think. Otherwise, I don't think I'd want to play it.
I could see this maybe doing okay in something like a Zoo deck that's flushing its hand with cheap stuff really, really fast. And then, just every turn essentially playing 2 cards, like using the hero power and then just casting whatever they got on the draw and whatever they got from the ability. But unless you assume that your hand's going to be empty all the time, this is not worth playing. And even if you do assume your hand's going to be empty all the time, I still don't know if I want it.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is I think destroying 2 random enemy minions is actually much stronger than doubling a destroy a random enemy minion effect.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Because you have to get the pool a lot, or you don't have to get the pool nearly as far to make sure you hit what you need, right?
Right. You can get rid of the small stuff and leave the 2 biggest things, which if they've got 2 big things is a lot easier to do. Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, there's just not much here. The other option I was going to do, Scott, here, I'd be curious to know if you think Demon Fuse is worse than this, because I couldn't decide between these two. They're both awful cards. This is a 2 cost, give a demon +3/+3, give your opponent a mana crystal permanently. Hey, it's filled too. Why not?
I'd probably say, well, it doesn't matter because it's not their turn. But
oh yeah,
I'd say Demon Fuse is probably worse, but they're both bad.
Yeah. All right, so that's Warlock. Pretty depressing. But hey, play Dreadsteed. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Yeah, that one's at least fun, and I could see, if it died 5 times, maybe you're starting to get your cost out of it. Or if you have a way of buffing it or whatever, but
it lasts all game, Scott. Lasts all game. I got all the turns in the world.
All right. Yeah, that 1/1, he'll really do some work for you. So he doesn't get silenced or polymorphed or this or that.
Scott, when I get whatever 3,000 dust I need to craft the perfect Dreadsteed deck, I'm challenging you to a duel, because I don't have Melganis, and he is really essential. But dude, I'm tossing him in there, and I will force you to fight me.
All right. Sure.
It'll be so good. I'll play Wrathguard in there. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. All right.
All right. What do you got for Warrior?
All right. Best to craft. Alestraz's Champion. 2 mana cost, 2/3. Hey, that's not so bad. It's pretty good. With a Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, gain +1 attack. That's pretty good. And charge. Oh, that's really good. 3/3 charge would probably normally cost 4 or 5 mana. Probably closer to 5 if I were to do a price check with other things. Now, admittedly, you're not guaranteed to get that, but if you're playing a dragon-heavy deck, like we said in Priest, they finally hit critical mass. I haven't checked in Warrior if they got all the components they need. But a 3/3 charge for 2 mana is very, very strong. It's just very cost efficient.
It's crazy strong. So they are still missing having a special dragon class card. So they are a little behind there. But man, like compared to Wolf Rider, right, which is a 3/1 charge for 3 mana, and that was played pretty heavily. It's not played as much anymore because there are better options now for dealing 3 damage. But I mean, a 3/3 with charge, in theory, on turn 1, if you coin it out, I mean that's a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, it's going to take them a little while to deal with. They either need, they're going to probably throw 1 or 2 cards at it in the early game. You're probably, if you cast it on turn 1 or 2, you're likely to do 6 or 9 damage, maybe 6 damage and take out an opposing card. Kind of worst case, 3 damage to the face, take out a card. Anyway, you get the idea. It's often going to be a 2-for-1 or some nice face damage and a trade.
Yeah, I mean, the combo this with Fiery War Axe, I mean, if Dragon Warrior becomes a thing, you won't want to play anything with 3 health against Warrior till like turn 5. Because they're going to have so many things dropping down that can attack right away. Yeah, this feels, again, like kind of Blizzard wants Warrior Dragon to be a thing, right? It doesn't feel like it's quite there yet, but hopefully with next set. This card, oh man, the stats are just insane. I think it's even more insane that 2/4 with Taunt.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Charge is just such a premium.
Yep. It's just the 2/4 with Taunt is in a deck that's better situated to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And that's also, I think, better against aggro decks, which that's one of the banes of Priest and of Dragon decks both. So it kind of patches one of their holes.
Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Best. Oh, yeah. Tell me.
Best to draft. We've got the Magnetar Alpha. I think, was this our card of the week last time?
I don't remember.
I think it might have been. But anyway, it's a 4 mana cost, 5/3, which, okay, suboptimally balanced stats, and it's half a mana down, but still 5/3 is not bad. And it says also damages the minions next to whomever he attacks. Well, that's pretty intense. He is likely to die before you can swing with him the next turn, because he's got that 3 toughness. And for 4 mana, that's pretty rough. I mean, somebody could like trade up a 2 mana card against him. So you probably don't want to play him against a board state where you know that they're just going to cost efficiently trade. But if you can make this guy live a turn, and your opponent has, well, at least 3 mana out, or 3 minions out, he's probably going to be a 3-for-1 that turn. And if you can angle it so you're attacking with something that with less than 3 attack, he'll still survive so that they still have to find a way to deal with him the following turn. And that is pretty intense. So to me, the downside isn't that bad, and the upside is tremendously high.
Yeah, the potential of just making your opponent not play troops when they otherwise would want to is really strong. Mm-hmm. That 3 health, man, makes me too nervous. I mean, there's so many ways to deal 3 damage to people. It's
true, but if it's a weapon, then at least they're going to be taking 5 damage to the face when they trade. And that's something I've started to like about those high damage minions is, part of the way that somebody, like, you generally only play those against a board where nothing on the board can kill them, right? Or that it's going to be a cost-efficient trade. It's like they're going to have to run a 5/5 into it, or 7/5 into it, or something. And then you're okay with that. But a lot of times it's them casting weapons that kind of tilts the equation. Mm-hmm. But if they've got higher power than life, they're burning a charge of their weapon, which is, a fraction of a card in and of itself, and they're hurting themselves on the face, and they're not, it's like the lightning rod effect. They're not doing something else that might have been even worse or bad anyway. So you add all that up, and it's like, yeah, honestly, that's not a bad trade. I mean, that sounds like some horrifying scenario. Oh, they just brought out a weapon and killed it. Well, no, but they had to cast a bunch of mana, burn a charge of a weapon, take a bunch of damage to the face, and not do anything else with that weapon. So, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah. All right, I have yet to play with this, so I will hold my judgment. But I just I'm not quite as high on you. You bring your Magnetar Alpha deck, and I'll bring my Dreadsteed deck, and we'll go.
Fair enough.
All right, what's your last card? What are we dusting?
All right, Sea Reaver. He is a 6 mana cost 6/7, which is just a Boulder Fist Ogre.
Yep.
Except when you draw this, deal 1 damage to your minions. So he's a Boulder Fist Ogre with what is ostensibly a downside. Now, one would assume that since class minions tend to be better than neutral minions, you would think that Blizzard thinks that this is a better than nothing ability. But I don't know in what world you're so desperate for whirlwind effects that you only want them to do them to your deck and not under your control of timing. I think even in the deck that most wants this is still an undesirable effect.
Yeah, it's funny because the deck that wants this is like a control Enrage Warrior, but this is out of control. This is like, control decks want to know exactly what's happening and manage it very carefully. And this is just, nope, I'm going whatever I want. Oh, you had a guy left with 1 health? Oh, too bad he's dead. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I don't get this card. Like, I could see it if it was a pure whirlwind effect. If it hit everybody, then okay, I could see that.
Yeah,
Then you're just as likely to ruin their day as you are to ruin yours.
Yep.
But yeah.
And that would make me consider it, and I still don't think I would play it.
Yeah.
But it's not even there, right? It's just your minions, and it's like, wow, you are only using this in like an Enrage style or, the Whirlwind style decks, and it just being out of control, and you don't even get the benefit of kind of hitting everything on their side too. I'm out. Like, this is horrible.
Yeah, it seems like a Boulder Fist Ogre with a bad effect in general. It's weird. No one was asking for that.
Right. Yeah, can you give me a Boulder Fist Ogre, but please make it worse.
Yeah.
Make it class specific and make it an epic. That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I was running so many Boulder Fist Ogres in my decks anyways.
Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I feel you. All right, so let's take a quick look through these. Which classes do you think got the best deals?
Druid walked away pretty good. Shaman really made out this time around. Priest made out pretty well this time around. And I actually think Paladin did pretty well for itself too.
Yeah, I would agree. On the downside, I would probably put Warlocks, Rogues, maybe Mage?
Mage had a couple of good cards in there, though. Yeah. With Ronin in particular is worth the cost of admission. I
Yeah.
mean, he's so general purpose, and then he excels even more in the decks that want him. I don't. They didn't give him a whole lot of tools, admittedly, but Ronin was enough.
Yeah, they didn't need a whole lot of tools, to be fair.
Right, like Warlock got nothing like that, right? Their legendary's okay, but Ronin is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Koldara Drake could be great. Dalaran
yeah.
A lot of people are really loving Effigy as well.
Oh, Effigy's so bad.
Oh man, we talked about this, right? This is I think it's why it didn't end up on our list. We didn't agree on Effigy.
Oh, it's so bad. I don't understand why.
So hold on, we got to talk
card.
for like 10 seconds about this. So last show, you were convincing me about a mage joust deck that was all about only running expensive minions.
Okay, yeah.
And doesn't this fit perfectly in that deck? Because you're only going to be paying 3 mana to get a 6 mana minion, or whatever.
I mean, I guess, except in a joust deck, a lot of the power from those things comes off of their battle cry effect, which won't fire with Effigy.
Well, Effigy is going to get you a random minion, so it's going to summon anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. But a lot of them have battle cry effects that you won't fire. But yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but even if you're getting like a 5 mana minion, a random one, it feels like you're always going to getting more than 3 mana value.
I don't. And it's not. Even though it's a 3 mana cost secret, you don't want to be casting it until the later game when you've got things on the board that might die. I'd rather do the one that puts 2 copies of something in your hand.
Oh yeah, I forget the name.
Yeah, I mean I know that takes a lot more mana to get going, but it's going to be minions that do something in your deck that you like, that you put in there, that are worth the cost. That are good investments in their own right. I don't want whatever random garbage the game's going to give me.
All right, fair enough.
I'm going to get a captain's parrot or something.
Scott doesn't need your random garbage, Hearthstone. You'd take it. So, all right, how about this, Scott? I got to know. Have you built the rogue pirate deck, and has it worked?
I did build a rogue pirate deck, and it works sometimes.
Okay.
Not
Still
that
needs
often.
more cards, you think?
Yeah, I will say, when it works so well. If you can get like 2 ship's cannons out and then just start playing guys, I have just seen it dominate. Like, in the right card order with the right draw, it is really, really mean. And then there's other times you're just like, what am I doing? These cards are all garbage. It's like, okay, well, I'm playing a 7/5, and if things don't fire right, it just falls apart because the cards individually are not good, but the synergy's great.
Yeah.
So you need that synergy to be strong enough. It's like the dragon deck, right, with Priest. It didn't have quite that synergy to get there, and I think I and everybody else in the last expansion walked away saying these just don't proc enough to be worthwhile, and these cards aren't really worth it when they're not proccing each other. But then once there are enough cards that they would reliably activate, okay, now here we go.
All right, so maybe next expansion. We'll keep trying. Rogue Pirate will be a thing someday.
Right, but they got closer. There were some good additions this time around, and I actually think some of the old pirate cards aren't quite as bad as people make them out to be. Like that 4/1 that does a vanish every time you cast a pirate?
The One-Eyed Cheat.
One-Eyed Cheat is better than people give it credit for if you're in a deck that can activate it. I have done some real work with that guy.
Yeah, I believe that. 4 damage every turn when you can pull it off.
Yeah, and actually, you know what card goes surprisingly well in pirate decks is Vanish, because it's a lot of cards that have higher attack than health. And so you bring them out, you vanish, and then the next turn you get a huge attack.
Wait, do you mean Conceal?
I'm sorry, I do mean Conceal. The one that does your whole team for a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because with one of the things with pirate decks is it's kind of hard to just keep your guys alive, but they do tend to do pretty good damage if you can keep them alive. And that, what is it, Conceal, I guess, does a good job keeping everybody alive.
Yep. Okay, very cool. All right, so that is our review. We've done 2 episodes now. If you missed the neutral review, go back to the last episode, listen to that. We're going to be moving back to our regular programming, starting with the deck battle next episode, and then we'll start alternating again between deck battle and strategy. Definitely let us know what you thought of the expansion cards. If you're building decks that we haven't talked about or using cards that we really like, or if you want to weigh in on the heated debates that we've had on this show, go ahead and do so. We'll have all the contact info at the end. Let's jump into the community. Scott, we got dangerously close to having 3 depressing announcements. But instead we have 2 depressing announcements and 1 hilarious announcement.
All right.
All right, so we got no questions sent in. We got
Is that
no
the depressing announcement?
That is one of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Sorry, announcement was the wrong word. Statements. No donations came in, also sad. And we almost had no iTunes review, but one came in at the last minute here by Nick Matthews. It says, favorite Hearthstone podcast, or just favorite Hearthstone pod. Ooh, sounds fancy, like we're sci-fi in the future. He says, the best $0 you'll spend on a podcast. So much positivity, it makes me vomit in a good way. A bright, positive ray of light in the cynical sea of spikes, which, like we mentioned previously, spikes are the players that want to prove their prowess by winning games. It's a personality type in card games. His favorite parts, he says, why are you so happy, or why are you happy at the start? Co-host singing songs about Hearthstone, and Josh getting... This has never been more timely after our Dreadsteed debate, Scott. Josh getting way too excited about shitty Timmy cards.
Well,
keep up the good work, guys.
You stole my thunder because I was going to invoke Dreadsteed and Polymorph Boar right there.
Oh, there you go, Polymorph Boar. I will accept your criticism on Dreadsteed. I refuse to accept it on Polymorph Boar. But there you go. That was... incredible timing, Nick. Thank you for that. So no donations, but we did do the Dust Bowl thanks to Jake Crawford, who is a regular donator. He signed up for a monthly donation actually to make sure that we would always have packs to open for the Dust Bowl, which is super nice. Jake sent us $10, which buys us 7 packs. And so right before the show, we did a live stream and opened all 7 packs and looked at all the cards and talked about what we thought about it. All that's going to be in the show notes. But here in the Dust Bowl, did we decide what our intro was for Dust Bowl? I totally don't remember.
No. Last time I think I just belted out the title.
Oh. Dust Bowl. There you go.
Bowl.
Wait. Can we do it in unison? 1, 2, 3.
Dust
Bowl. Perfect. There you go. Picking our card to save. We got a Golden Wormrest Agent. So that's the Priest 2/4 Taunt that we were talking about today. Super excited to get the golden version of that. That's the card I'm keeping. What about you, Scott?
The Murloc Knight, look, I mean, I think it's just common, but it's something you should hold on to. Pretty good.
I'm actually excited. Even though it's common, I've opened like 70 packs now. That was the second Murloc Knight I've gotten, so now I can run 2 in my Paladin deck. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and it does work, man. There's rarely a time I cast it when I feel like it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. It was kind of amazing. We only opened 7 packs, but we got a lot of cards that we talked about today. Going through it, it was amazing. Like each pack had 1 or 2 cards that we had designated as some of our favorite class cards. So that was pretty cool. We got good cards out of those packs. But we did get some to dust as well, both literally and metaphorically, because Argent Watchman... I'm just going to dust this guy. I already have a golden version and 2 non-goldens. I do not need more than 2 copies of this card.
You don't need any copies of that card. It's horrible.
But I want to keep the gold one.
Yeah.
I have such a hard time dusting gold cards.
That's true. That's fair.
So that guy's gone. Argent Watchman, non-gold version. He's gone. Goodbye. What are you dusting?
The Gadgets and Jouster. He's the tiny little guy that gets small bonuses when he's inspired.
Yeah. So that he can be put in Joust decks and make them worse.
Right.
Perfect. All right. We talked about him last week. He was one of the ones we dusted. All right. Let's go into card of the week. Scott, you got a song for us?
I don't, but I will invoke my new tradition. Actually, it's kind of an old tradition at this point of totally improving these things. So I literally right now have nothing in my mind, so I'm about to figure something out.
Do you need me to stall for you? I can be the guy that walks out on stage, like taps the mic a few times, maybe tunes the guitar, and everyone in the crowd thinks it's the band and gets excited and gets really sad and maybe throws things.
But this has actually been the way I've done I think all but 3 of them. I think only 2 or 3 have been premeditated to any degree.
Would you say that it's because you're getting lazy and don't care about the podcast, Scott?
It's because when you've done it like 10 times, I've kind of exhausted all the genres I can think of.
You're not Weird Al?
I guess. One of these times I need to make just like some long hip hop, rap thing. But
that'd be incredible. Your wife can come in and sing backup for it.
Do a little beatboxing for me. It's the card of the week. The card of the week. This card here is the card of the week.
Nice.
That's it.
I love it. It was getting dangerously close to last week's tune, so just gotta think about that, Scott.
I will.
Just saying.
All right, sorry.
That was excellent, though. So excellent. I'll let you introduce the card of the week. What is it?
It is Confuse. This is an epic 2-cost spell. Swap the attack and health of all minions. And I will say, I like that you picked this thing because this is a really interesting card. Such a simple, kind of obvious effect. Very succinct. Doesn't take a lot of words, but its effect is, in fact, confusing. It's hard to wrap your head around. I think trying to figure out how to reliably turn this to your advantage, it probably would be for a so-called alpha strike, which is a term from like Magic, where whenever you're attacking with everything on your side to end the game, that's often referred to as an alpha strike. So if you've got a bunch of things in Priest that have more toughness than attack, which is pretty common, your opponent may not consider themselves to be in danger. And then you use Confuse to totally turn that on its ear and then attack for a lot more damage than they may have expected. I think outside that scenario, it's hard to figure out where this is going to fit in and how good it's going to be. And so that may mean that it's riskier to put 2 in your deck, because if it's a finisher, 2 would make it more likely you're going to have that finisher when you need it, but it's also going to mean it's more likely that if you draw both, you're not going to make good use of both.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on it. It's very appealing to me as an alpha strike. I haven't actually heard that phrase before. Because that's definitely what it feels like. It's going to catch people off guard. It might even, kill like a couple of their totems or something, like if they've got the Stoneclaw totem out to really open up the board. But there's some interesting thing there with Divine Spirit, which is double a minion's health as well.
Yeah.
So you could double a minion's health and then swap it. It's a lot of cards to get that effect out. But yeah, I'm totally with you on this card. It's really interesting. It feels like one of those cards I want to make work, but I don't see exactly how yet.
Right. So the thing is, during the game, like is at any point other than the end, this isn't going to help your board state under normal circumstances. It's not going to remove any creatures. It's not going to add, or any minions. It's not going to add any minions to your side of the board. It's not really going to do much of anything. So, another potential use for it is where you could attack a bunch of enemies, get your health kind of low, but to where things are, just barely survived. And then you could confuse so that they get a bunch more hit points, but then their attack values are probably going to be even lower than they were before. But that's why, the only place I can figure out where this is really good is to end the game. But in that respect, it's like the, was it Savage Roar? Or what's the...
Yeah, that's the Druid one.
And then there's, I think, Bloodlust on the
yeah.
Shaman. So it feels like a priesty version of those cards. It's an unexpected finisher. And outside of it being an unexpected finisher, doesn't really have any direct board impact, and it requires you to have minions on the board ready to attack in order to be good. So it feels like it's in the same class.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than those, but it's also a little more finicky, I think.
Yeah. I will say, the gold version of this card is super psychedelic. Because it's got like purple swirlies and like fairies going around, and the character's eyes are googly and glowing. It is pretty fun.
Nice.
Yeah, this feels like one of those cards I just want to play with and just see if I can make anything interesting out of it.
Yeah, and if you're playing a deck with things like, what was the the life doubling one?
Anyway. Oh, the Divine Spirit.
Yeah, Divine Spirit, or if you're playing with Villain's Chosen, the +2/+4. Even Power Word Shield. A deck with a lot of those things, this could go pretty well in.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like a Death Lord, you're probably pushing it there, but hey, he can turn into an 8 too.
I've seen some priest decks run Death Lord to good effect. I mean, it's obviously got the downside, but then they've got enough cards that, heal it or make it an 8/8 or make it a 2/16 or, there's enough things that can be done to a Death Lord that make it not as bad. And I think pre-stack is the place where that happens.
Yeah, they can heal it every turn too to help keep it alive.
Right. And then, you cast it early enough in the game, and it can really keep the riffraff out and smack a bunch of it down for that matter. It can trade for a few cards. And then you're right.
Can keep the riffraff out.
That's right.
This is a bouncer at Scott's very exclusive club.
But yeah, Confuse is another card that helps make Deathlord have some more opportunity than it does on the surface.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, so I think that's a show. We're going to have full show notes along with our review of all the cards and what we thought about them and links to them. And, of course, a live stream of us opening the pack so you can see all the cards we got. We got some pretty cool stuff in there. We actually opened one pack. I was excited. It was an epic, 3 rares, and a common. Pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
So just go to GameDiplomat.com. Click on Hearthstone at the top. You'll find all of our posts. You can leave nice comments there. As always, we'd love to know what you thought of the show, what you'd like to see added in future episodes. You can find us on Google+, Happy Hearthstone. Thousands of people talking about card games all the time. On Twitter, I'm at jaugustine, or you can email me directly, ajosh@outlook.com, or just leave a comment on the blog, again, gamediplomat.com. And if you enjoyed the show, you can consider supporting us. You can find more info at gamediplomat.com/donate. We'd really appreciate it. Scott, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter at slance76, and that's probably the main place to find me for right now. I haven't been really active anywhere else. And I still need to get you that. I need to finish up that set review.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I did the full set review with write-ups and numbers for every card. I've been on vacation. I had traveling. I had a bunch of things going on. But I need to finish that up and get it to you.
Cool. Yeah. Whenever I get it, I'll put it online. We'll be sure to tweet that out and message it in the Google Plus and all that sort of good stuff. So, yeah, check back for that soon. Scott, thanks again for joining us and sharing all of your delicious wisdom.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was a total blast, as always.
Yeah, always fun. Thanks again to everyone listening for visiting the Happy Hearthstone and having a little fun with us. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.